And check out YouTube. That needs refocusing as well.
Live.
Can you switch the lens to autofocus, refocus it? It's on the lens itself, on the side.
Is it focusing?
You need to press the button on the top, on the left, your left. Stand here.
Sorry, yeah, I don't know.
Everyone about another 5-10 minutes, and they're all like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. Is there anything that I can do?
We're live.
Oh, fantastic.
Obviously, it's on a different link.
Yep.
So I think we're just gonna.
Great. Oh, are people watching?
I don't think so, because I think they're on, different.
A different one.
Yeah. In this box at the bottom.
Are we going to hang around at the end because someone would like to talk to us
Yeah,
about
yeah.
work?
We will do.
Which looks really cool. He gave Dan his business card. It's a in-van game event. He does games and stuff.
Let's just hide that one.
Hi, is this live stream happening?
Okay.
Maybe you could just get one of you guys to write a message or something.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to bring people in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it working?
Because while they're sitting down, we can be doing the last fiddling around bits.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
All
Let's
right.
get them in.
Let me usher people.
Okay.
You could check if there's someone from the office that might be able to help.
That's all right. We've set up a new stream, so we are live.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Sounds good. Is your mic off, Sophie?
Yes, I never turned it on.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Deep breaths. Have some water.
Relax.
It's going to be okay.
Oh, it's
You've
not a
got
good
all these
start.
people outside as well.
No.
Yeah.
They'll definitely benefit.
Yeah. Is Dan ushering them in, or do we need to?
Yeah, come in.
I can help.
Can you just press the top of the
Hello.
top
I like
of the
it.
camera?
Surprise
Emma. Emma.
Sorry.
Can you press the top of the camera?
So sorry.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to keep doing that, do you think?
No.
No?
I don't know why I'm so surprised every time someone comes in the hall. it's always intimidating. Oh, okay. I'm obviously out of the.
I think that's everyone. Is that everyone? Is Dan in here? Cool. Good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for coming along. Apologies to the people that are watching us online. We had some technical difficulties connecting to the stream, so I've had to quickly set up a new one, which is why we're starting a little bit later. But yeah, it's good to try and create something and put on an event, and people have actually shown up for it, so it's a win for us so far. So thanks very much for coming along. If you've not had coffee and pastries, there'll be some time at the end. Please don't leave us with a load of pastries to eat. My cholesterol doesn't need that. Just going to cover off a couple of bits of housekeeping. We're not aware of any fire alarm tests. Well, we've been specifically told there aren't any fire alarm tests today. So if you do hear a fire alarm, these are your fire exits. And then up the stairs, don't use the lift. You know the drill. If you guys do need to take a comfort break, please feel free to just up and go. And come back in again. And then we would just ask to make sure that mobile phones are on silent, so we don't get any calls throughout it. Just by way of introduction, I'm Tony Southgate. I'm the founder of Ginger Pickle. I will be one of your speakers today. I'm in the process of developing a bit of a cough at the moment, so if I do cough a lot, I do apologise, especially to the people that are watching on live stream, because the mic is just here, so they're going to really hear that. I've been working in marketing for over a decade. I've worked in-house and for agency. I founded Ginger Pickle 3 years ago, and this is my casual brag that I did talk at Brighton SEO, which is the biggest SEO conference within the UK. I should actually just point out now as well that there is a time for questions at the end, but as you can see on the screen, you are able to scan that QR code or go to canva.live and enter in any questions as we go along. You can include your name, or you can do it anonymously, or you can wait to the end to ask questions, but we'll try and cover everything off as we go. Also speaking today is Sophie. So Sophie also helps run Ginger Pickle. As you can see, vastly experienced marketeer, working in-house and now working with our agency. We also have in the room Emma, who's just down at the front, and Dan's around somewhere, but those guys would have greeted you and helped you in. Cool, so this is what we're going to cover off, and this is what you guys are hopefully here to learn about. If it's something else, then you're in the wrong room and maybe need something in another room. But we're going to talk about how to get your ad account set up for success, show you around the Meta interface to help you get familiar with it, help you understand that it's not so scary, how to pick the right objectives, budgets and audiences, and then Sophie's going to talk to you about ads best practice. Just by way of show of hands, who is currently running Meta ads for their business? So quite a few. So the rest of you, has anyone tried it and is no longer running? Okie doke.
So I'm really interested.
Yeah, cool. We might need a chat afterwards for that. And who's never run Meta ads before and is here kind of starting from scratch? Nice. We're going to cover off hopefully all of those things. It's a whistle-stop tour. But if you, like I said, if you get any questions, pop them into this chat or speak to us afterwards. So what we're going to do is just show you around Meta Business Manager. So when you are setting up ads and running campaigns, this is what you see. What I'm going to talk to you a lot about as well is the URL for that, which is business.facebook.com. So if you were to access your Meta account, your Facebook account, usually you'd probably go to facebook.com. But everything that we talk about in ads is in business.facebook.com. It's probably one of my most visited sites. So this is Meta Business Manager. Whenever we work with a business, one of the things that tends to happen is they have a business manager, but it was set up by an employee that no longer works there. and so the business owner probably doesn't have access to it anymore. And what we look to do as an agency, and any agency that you work with, is look to connect your business manager. So one of the things not to do is to add people that don't work for your business directly to the business manager. What you want them to do is use their own business manager to connect to yours. And they'll do that through a partnership request. And when you're in your business manager, it will look something like this. So what you've got at the top is your users, which is where you can add your staff. And then you can see that we're pointing there to partners, which is where you'd add any kind of marketing agencies you're working with. This is where you'll see your accounts. So Facebook page, Instagram, anything that you've got, WhatsApp could be in there as well. Data sources, also referred to as pixels, is what you'll find in there. And we'll talk about the use of pixels a bit further on and what they mean and how to use them and making sure they're set up correctly. And if you are partnering with an agency, you will see their request in here. So you'll always receive an email off the back of it anyway, but there is this section here that you can go to requests in order to then approve a connection. Like I said, best thing to do if you are working with an agency is to have that partner request and don't add them directly to it. Reason being is if that relationship ever ends, you can just go into your partners and remove them, and that will remove them from all the assets they have access to and all of their staff as well. And then that way you don't need to worry about adding or removing individuals. Again, we're going to go into Meta Ads Manager. So this is a section of your business manager where you go in and create campaigns. Apologies, this is screenshots for this bit, which isn't the most exciting, but it's to help you guys see this and understand it. So with the Ads Manager, you can see here you've got campaigns, ad sets, and ads. Campaigns is where you'll set your main details for that campaign. You can set your budget at that level. You also then have ad sets, so you'll have one campaign and you can have multiple ad sets. And then for each ad set, you will then have ads. So as you can see here, you can set your budget at campaign level. And what the platform will do is then share that budget between each one of your ad sets. We like to do this because it allows the platform there to put the budget towards the ad set, which is completing the goal that you want. So this is a really good way to go to take advantage of Meta's machine learning and be able to use that in order to optimize the campaign to the results that you want. And then, like I said, each ad set will then have its ads associated to it. So what you can do in terms of viewing this is you can tick a box at the beginning to see the campaign, and then you'll see every ad set within that. And then if you select the ad set by ticking the box, you'll see all the ads associated to it. So the structure of that looks something like this. Which is hopefully a bit more visually pleasing than Ads Manager itself. So the hierarchy is the campaign at the top, and then you've got 2 ad sets within the campaign, and each one of those ad sets has 3 ads within it. Any questions on that at all? Just while I have a sneaky... That's the only reason I asked, to be honest with you. So setting up for success. I learned this saying probably about 8 or 9 months ago. And the saying is, it's like herding cats. Herding cats is a really difficult thing to do because cats do what the hell they want, to be honest with you. But if you don't have your goals set, if you don't have your tracking set up, then running meta ads or any kind of advertising is like herding cats. It's incredibly difficult to do because you don't know what's working and what isn't. So it's really important to make sure that you are set up for success and have those goals and tracking in place. One of the things that, conversations that we have with business owners a lot is I tried meta ads, but I don't really feel like it worked for me. And you'll dive into it a bit. Well, why don't you think it worked? Well, I'm not really sure I got anything from it. You should never be in that position. You should know, yes, I definitely got something from it, or no, I definitely didn't get something from it. And there shouldn't really be a thing in between as long as you've set your goals and tracking correctly. So your tracking tells you what is working, of course. Also importantly, it tells you what's not working. So if you've got those goals in place, you've got that tracking in place, you're then able to see what campaigns, what ad sets, what ads aren't working for you. And then you can go in and turn those things off or change or adapt them as you need to. And one of the big important things that maybe people don't realize or talk about is having that conversion tracking, those events in place. It also allows the platform to be fed with the right data. So you're able to say to the platform, okay, so here's my campaign, here's my ad sets, here's my ads. This is what I want you to achieve. And then what the platform can do is then find the winners in the parameters that you've given it, but then also go beyond that in order to find more people that are likely to complete the action that you want. So really important to make sure that that is in place. So SMART goals. This isn't anything really to do with Meta specifically. This is to do with your general marketing. So SMART goals are things that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So if you're a business that was selling widgets and you wanted to sell 1 million widgets in May, you've set yourself a very specific and measurable and timely task, probably relevant as well if you are selling widgets for a living. But if you then gave a campaign a £10 media spend and wanted to sell 1 million widgets at £10 a widget, is that really going to be achievable? So making sure that you are understanding what you want to get out of your campaigns. So in real world, this could be, well, I want to generate leads for my business of people that are interested in XYZ over the next 6 months. And then making sure that that number of leads, the cost per lead, is relevant as well. So all of these things going in place before you even start. So making sure you've got your goals and what you want to achieve. Next thing is how you go about tracking your goals, and we do this through pixels or data sets. So Meta likes to change the name of things. We never used to call it Meta until they decided to move away from Facebook. But pixels, also known as data sets, are the things that tell the platform what it is that you want to track and what it is that you want to achieve. A pixel is effectively a bit of code which goes into your website, and that bit of code passes information and data from your website back into the platform. So this could be any number of things, so pages that people have visited, how they've interacted with your site, purchases, if they've filled out forms, if they've made telephone calls, if they've clicked on an email. These are all wonderful things that you can track. And then you can use that data to understand what has worked, and you can also build campaigns off the back of that, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail. Setting up those events. Anyone that works in marketing that uses Meta Business Manager will spend a lot of time looking at memes and relating to them, and the memes usually include people crying because the Meta Business Manager is a massive pain, and they like to move things and change things around without really telling anyone. So it's like you go in, you try and find something, and then it's like, surprise, it's not there anymore. But the event setup side of things, I actually think is really, really good. The only people that I think kind of rival this is probably Microsoft in terms of being able to set up and track events. So once you've got your Pixel set up and installed within the website, you can then go into business.facebook.com. There's a little section here, which is where you will see your Pixel. You then go into your data sources, settings, and then you can do this thing called Open Event Setup Tool. So you click that button, you put in your website address, it will open up a new tab for you, and then you'll see this little widget pop up where it talks about events on the page. And you can see there's 2 buttons that you can press, one which is to track a button, one which is to track a URL. So in the event of wanting to track people that have filled out a form on your website, for example, hopefully when they've filled out that form, they're redirected to a thank you page. And then that thank you page can be tracked as an event. So you know anyone that's visited that thank you page only would have got there as a result of filling out that form. So what you can do is press track URL and then have that page tracked as an event. The other thing that you can do, which is really cool and helps you to track things like telephone calls, button clicks, WhatsApp clicks, email clicks, is press that little button there which says track new button. And then it will show you all the things that can be tracked on the page, and it will highlight them. And all you do is click on that and then select what kind of event you want to tie that against. So for an example, you can click the email address and say, okay, well, that's someone clicking to potentially make contact, so I'll save that down as a contact event. You've then got a contact event that you can ask the platform to optimize towards. So if you're saying to the platform, well, I want to generate people clicking my email and sending me emails, well, that's the event that you would set up within the platform. And like I said, that's something that's really easy to do once your Pixel is set up and installed on the site. Once you've done that, it's important to make sure that you test those events. So there is, again, in data sources, couple of bits on, test the event, you put in the website URL, you then go to your website and just start pressing those buttons. And if those have been set up correctly, you'll then start to see them in the bottom here. So those events received. Cool. So this was supposed to be a GIF of someone crying. So just pretend, for those of you that have seen the film Bridesmaids, there's a bit where she's on the plane and she's like, help me, I'm poor. I realise I've spoken about some quite technical things relatively quickly. There are lots of companies out there that can help you get a Pickle set up and installed on your website and actually set up those events for you. I'm not here to plug anyone in particular, but you know, there are businesses out there that can help. Next thing I'm going to talk to you about is audiences. So first thing you want to do when you're setting up your campaign is making sure you've got yourself set up for success. So that is going to include making sure your Pickle set up, your events are set up, you understand what it is you want to achieve from your campaign, and you've got your campaign goals in place as well. Then what you want to do is start setting up your audiences. So this is the fun bit where hopefully you've been through some kind of branding and you are able to understand your ideal audience and your positioning with that audience. If you've got that, then it makes this process a hell of a lot easier. So the different types of audience you've got, again, business.facebook.com, you'll then go to the audience section, which is the little people, and then you can create a new audience. The different audiences are custom. So a custom audience is basically made up of anyone that takes actions on your website. The other ones that we like to set up as well is people that take actions or engage with your social channels. And build audiences around that. We'll talk about why that's quite handy and important as we go forward. And then also events as well. So if anyone runs events and creates an event on Facebook, you can then create an audience off the back of that event and then send different messages to those people in order to encourage them through the funnel and make the purchase. The other one that you've got is saved. So this is where you'd then create an audience around demographics, psychographics, in-market segments, all things like that. There's some really cool things that you can do with audiences, and I would definitely encourage you to go to this and just play around with it and have a look under browse and what you can find and what you can see, because it does include things like people that have got a birthday coming up, people that have got friends that have got a birthday coming up. So if you're selling gifts or things of that kind, you can specifically talk to people about the fact that they've got a friend with a birthday coming up and here's a perfect gift for them. So there's lots of things you can do. You can target people based on their device, some of the things they're interested in, some of their in-market segments. So creating those saved audiences, which are very specific to you, is a good way to go as well. The other one that we really like is a lookalike. You'll probably gather at this point, I quite like a meme. So lookalike audiences are basically taking an existing audience that you've already got of first-party data. So as an example, if you've got a database of customers that have previously purchased from you, you can take this audience, upload it to Meta, and then say to it, create me a lookalike. That lookalike audience is effectively people that look like your customers and people that are already transacting with you, and it allows them Meta to find more people that are likely to transact with you as well. So the more data points you have on the person, the better. There is a minimum requirement of a name, email address. If you can give it a name, an email address, a postal code as well, then it just helps them match that is the actual right person. So you want a high match rate and Meta to be sure. And then you go, yeah, find me more people that look like this. And you can do it as a percentage. So 1% being very close to that audience, or the higher the percentage, the less close, if that's a word or the right saying, it is to it.
At least 1,000 on your list.
The number that Meta has suggested does change, but the more the better. And to be honest with you, unless you've got 1,000 contacts, you're probably, because Meta's then from that 1,000, well, I've got to then find all of these people in the platform. So there's going to be a bit of a drop off there. And then from that, what do I know about these people to make sure that I'm matching the lookalike to them as well? So more data, the better, but the platform will tell you how good an audience that is. The other one that we want to talk about is Advantage Plus. So when Meta first launched this, it was absolutely terrible. We did test it and trial it and didn't see very good results from it. This can now be one of our best performing audiences. So this is similar to a saved audience in that you can go in and say, I want to find people that kind of look like this. But then what Meta will do is then take that section of people, have a look between the commonalities of those people, some of the similarities between the audience, and then find more people that look like that. Now, the Advantage Plus audience, and making sure that this is a really effective one, needs to be based off the back of some very specific events and goals. So as an example, if you say to the platform, well, I want to drive traffic to the website, and you use an Advantage Plus audience, what you'll find is you'll drive a lot of traffic to the website, but they won't buy anything or they won't fill out a form. So if that's what you want them to do, then make sure you've got that event set up and that you're basing your Advantage Plus on the actual thing you want them to do. So it's very good at achieving that goal, but it will be very granular and specific about it. Size matters. It's really important from a Meta perspective, not everywhere in life. The Meta platform will tell you about audience size, so as we were saying about lookalike and stuff. What you want to try and avoid is narrow audiences. So whereas 7-8 years ago you would run campaigns which had very small specific niche audiences, now it's about trying to give the platform as much as possible to work with and give it a goal, and then use your creative to talk to sections of that audience. So the creative that you produce and the ads that you produce no longer can be really specific. I remember you see, it was Carol Baskin and all of that. Remember lockdown and the Tiger King came out. And then soon after that, I got served an ad which was an outline of the guy from the Tiger King. Can't even remember his name now. But it was basically men over 30 need life insurance. So that was very specific to men over 30. Those kind of things aren't as effective, and having that wider audience and creative that talks to a lot of people, you will then find gets better results. When we first put together this talk, and then of course through the process of setting up campaigns, there was an update from Meta. There's actually been another one which we've noticed this week as well. So Advantage Plus, if you set up a campaign and you set that to a sales goal, so platform, I want you to sell my products, and you use an Advantage Plus audience, and you use, an audience, it has to be Advantage Plus. So even if you create a saved audience, what Meta is doing is turning that Advantage Plus on. So keep in mind that though you've said to the platform, these are the interests, these are the demographics, it's going to go outside of those if your goal is set at sales. So what we've been testing recently is running a campaign which is Advantage Plus only, where we're not giving any interests or demographic information, just letting the platform pick. And then we're running that against this Advantage Plus audience, which also has those interests and demographics included as well, in order to see which performs best and if the right route is to run both of those or just one of them. So just bear in mind, sales goal means you have to use Advantage Plus and it will go outside of your original targeting. So again, when you're thinking about creative, thinking about, you may specify, well, this can only go to a male gender or a female gender. Meta's going to go outside of that. So make sure that your artwork doesn't exclude anybody. But we'll talk about artwork and ads and give you some guidance on that. Campaign setup. So this is the kind of campaign setup that we do, and I'll talk you through these steps because this is obviously just a bit of a blurb. So what we like to do is make sure that in our campaign, we have 3 different ad sets. So those ad sets are those 3 different audiences. So we run with a saved, an Advantage Plus, and a lookalike. We'll always do a minimum of 2 audiences, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, depending on the budget, depending on the campaign, depending what's needed. With those ad sets, they'll all then have multiple ads going against them, and we'll give the platform an event and something specific that we would like them to do. So we will say to the platform, well, here's your audiences, here's the creative, here's what we want you to achieve. So in this case, completing an event on the website. If someone completes that event on the website, then they've completed the goal. Great. You know, we've got a sale, we've got a lead, something like that, but we're not necessarily done with them. What we also want to do is create a custom audience of people that have completed that action in order to then market to them in the future Anyone that sells products and can sell products regularly to people, this is a really good way of being able to keep your brand in front of people, remind them to buy again, keep them buying. So as an example, you could set that to someone that's bought in the last 100 days but hasn't bought in the last 30 days. We'll then serve them an ad and say, hey, come and buy this product again. You can also use it for cross-selling and upselling products as well. So that's a good thing. Taking it back a step. So we've got the Save, the Advantage Plus, the lookalike. We show them an ad. We're saying to the platform, we want you to complete this event. If they go to the website and don't complete the event that we want, then we put them into a remarketing audience. You guys are probably sick of my face because if you've been onto our website or social channels, you'd have probably seen some of our remarketing ads. So the remarketing allows you to then put yourself in front of those people and encourage them to complete the event that you want them to. If they come back to the website and complete the event, well, then they go into that custom audience to buy again. Those people that are doing those things, so we've got this kind of circular, come through, buy. If you don't buy, we'll come back and buy. If you do buy, we'll come back and buy again. So that kind of motion as well. One of the other things that we like to include as well is custom around people that have engaged with your social channels. So this is really handy, especially for people that haven't visited the website yet. So if the goal you want them to achieve is on the website, or having a custom audience set up for people that are engaging with your social channels but haven't been to your website is a good way to go. So you can then serve them with an ad which says, come to our website and buy this product or do this thing. And again, if they don't do that, they go into the remarketing. If they do, they then go into another custom pot in order to encourage them back and buy again in the future. We will also talk about a basic setup to get you started as well. So this is kind of like a full, and not everyone has the budget in order to do that. So we will talk about that a bit further on. I'm now going to hand over to Sophie. I forgot your name there for a moment, that was terrible. Who's going to talk to you about some ads best practice.
I'm just going to cough before I put my mic on. We are also getting married, so the fact that you just forgot my name. Let me know if there is a problem, but hopefully my mic is now on for people who are joining us live. Oh, sorry. Cool. So I am going to be talking about ads best practice, which is quite a large topic. So it will be a bit of a whistle-stop tour. While Tony is a supernatural public speaker, I am not just a very awkward public speaker, I'm also a very awkward person. So lucky you all, and I woke up on Monday and had lost my voice. Love that for me. Anyway, we'll get cracking and we'll jump right in with how many ads you should actually be running. We recommend running 5 basically in each ad set. So that gives Meta enough to work with. It helps you figure out what's resonating and what isn't. If you have more budget, you can go ahead and test more ads. But if you're working with a tighter budget, we'd always say keep it to 5 strong ones rather than spreading your spend too thin. And yes, that is 5, and I did not put this slide together. Next, we will talk about the components that actually make up each ad so that we are all working with like a shared language for the rest of the presentation. So first we've got the primary text. And you might think of the primary text as the caption because it sits in the same place that the caption would sit in an organic post. This is the ad copy section that you have the most room in. And it's worth noting that it doesn't actually appear on all ad placements. So if in your primary text, that's the only place that someone could understand what it is that you're actually offering them, you're going to lose that message in some variations. Then we have the visual. So this can be an image, it can be a video, or it can be a carousel. There is no real better when it comes to which one to use. It's all going to be about what your objectives are, what your message is, what works for your audience. So it could be an ad that you have designed, an ad you've filmed, it could be photography, or it could be an automatic product feed type ad. We will talk about video a fair bit today, just because I think that is the type of advert that a lot of people find quite intimidating to create and feel they don't have the kind of the capability to create, and I don't feel that's true. So then we have our headline at the bottom. In this version, it's underneath the visual. very short piece of text, sits alongside our ad, sits in different places depending on where the ad is appearing. And finally, our call to action, which is the button that you can see there. It's not a free text box, so you cannot write whatever you want in there. You have to select from a drop down. There are simple options like shop now or learn more, but there are also some like super specific ones that you might want to look at if you do something that is very specific. So that could be like subscribe or apply now, or I think there's even like a see menu, if that is something that would be appropriate for you. The important thing to remember about this is that all of these elements come together to make up your ad. It's not just that visual is your ad and that's it. So they all need to be pulling in the same direction. The visual asset, yes, obviously, of course, is going to be a really big lever that you have to pull, and it's going to be often the most impactful thing, the most influential part. But don't get so distracted by that everything else becomes an afterthought. And just to add another extra layer of complexity, the different elements of your ad are going to be positioned in different places depending on the placement that your ad is shown in. So placements is just a word for where your ad will appear in the different areas on Facebook, Instagram, and the associated platforms. So that could be in the feed when someone's scrolling, it could be on stories when they're tapping through, it could be in the right-hand column of the home screen, and many, many other places. And the different elements of the ad appear or don't appear, depending on what those placements are. So in some placements, you are going to have your full primary text. In other placements, it may not appear at all. In some placements, you can see you've got the call to action button is very like front and center. And then in other placements, it doesn't exist. So when you're planning your creative, you just need to be aiming to have all of the different elements that are complementing each other. And they're all communicating enough that if there's something missing, it doesn't mean you're losing the whole message. And one big part of that is around the safe zone. So when you're designing vertical ads for portrait placements, there is a safe zone that you need to be really conscious of, which often means that you avoid the top 15% and the bottom 35%, because that is where things like usernames, buttons, captions often appear. So if you put your key messages or your call to action there, then they are going to be covered up in a lot of cases. So that can feel quite confusing actually and really fiddly, but if you stick with the intention of putting the most important things where your eye naturally falls on a phone screen, which is often around the middle or just above the middle, then you can't go too far wrong. So we're going to take a look at the actual ad visual itself. Basically, we're going to work through each of those elements of the ad. And we'll look at static ads first. So I don't know if anyone's got any idea what this ad could be for. I thought glasses as well. Or maybe like the blazer that she's wearing, or a hair dye, yeah. Or like maybe like life insurance and, you know, someone feeling very, very happy and comforted about their future prospects. I don't know. No, it's for an event. And so context is really, really key. Because actually, the minute that you add just a date and a venue, I mean, I've made these up, but, you know, let's say this was happening. I don't know who the singer is. The minute you add that date and the venue, it immediately kind of fleshes out that context. Someone can understand more instantly when they look at it what it is, because you're not always going to have, you know, the perfect image or the perfect ad that you would like to have. Sometimes you've got to work with what you've got. So, context is key. Don't overthink it or try to cram too much in. You know, simplicity is a really, really lovely, good thing in these platforms. Also because the size that your ad is going to appear at can vary so much as well. So if you've crammed a load of text on there, then in some of the placements, it's just not going to be legible even. Lead with what the person seeing the ad is going to actually get out of it. Remember that it's not a poster, it's not a print ad, so you don't necessarily need all of the elements that you would need on a print ad to be on there. And we see a lot of, you know, ads where people will write like a full web address on there. Well, you have a button and you're going to set a link within your ad, so that is kind of a waste of space for you, really. I I've even seen one with a QR code on. Please don't do that. So yeah, really think about what the elements that you actually need are and what is going to communicate the best. And you can kind of scrap everything else because you do have the other elements of your ad that are going to add some additional context, some additional layers to it. I always think something that's really good to use, and this is kind of a very standard piece of advice, I guess, for a lot of different advertising types, is if you do have any social proof or like risk reversal, like guarantees, warranties, no obligation type messaging, definitely use that. You can also make use of any social proof. I really love this reverse social proof one as well at the top. So that's always a really good format to use if you're kind of stuck for what's my ad going to be. And then adapt it for the format. So you are going to want to do your 3 different sizes to fit all of the different placements that could be. And to make sure that, for example, in stories where you're not going to see it with a primary text, you might want to add additional text onto that one only, and make sure that you're kind of flexing for where it's actually going to be seen. Now, we mentioned at the start about using 5 ads per ad set. And I know that for a lot of businesses, whether it is a founder who's trying to do everything for themselves, or you are a solo marketer who needs to wear lots of hats, that can be a really big ask. So a really quick win that we love to use with clients who share those challenges is to just repurpose everything. So if you have got 3 great images, do 3 great images as 3 ads, and then put all 3 images together with an end card as a carousel. And then nice, easy win. You've already done the work to create those images, whether you've had them shot by a photographer, you've taken them yourself, you've designed graphics, whatever it might be, you may as well get more mileage out of them. And then testing both formats gives you that insight as well, because if that carousel works really well, you know that you can create more carousels in the future. We're going to move on to video ads. Because video, as I said, I think that's something that people feel quite intimidated by sometimes, and it can be so beneficial, so effective on all Meta platforms, and definitely on ads as well. And it's much easier than you might think to use video ads. Professionally shot video is great. It is. I'm not here to bash that, but that doesn't mean that you can't create high-performing ads yourself using just your phone. This isn't meant to be a high-performing ad, by the way. This is literally just some footage of Tony digging with a digger, which he did at the weekend and I think really loved. Anyway, whether you are filming yourself or you're using a supplier, our first tip when capturing content specifically for video ads is to film vertically. So vertical video is going to take up more screen space. It works best in placements like Reels and Stories. So it gives you a better shot at capturing someone's attention, and it's also really flexible because you can use the vertical ad in more ad placements than you would be able to a landscape one. So for the feed placements, it just lets you use the vertical ad, but you then crop the top and bottom off very slightly. So if you are adding subtitles, just be aware of that. Keep your subtitles away from the very top or bottom of your screen. And if possible, use sound. So Meta used to be a sound off platform really, but that is changing. So these days, most people are scrolling with sound on, especially in Reels. So make sure your video has audio. That could be music, it could be voiceover, it could be you talking to a camera. And you can use royalty-free music from most editing platforms. When it comes to actually what to make your videos about, our main advice is to just do any combination of entertaining, relatable, or digestible. So organic content is often made for a different purpose to ads, but it doesn't hurt to think about your ads through a content lens, because what works on social works on social. And we often actually find that the best performing ads can actually just be either an organic post that we've then fed into our ad setup, or it's a slightly edited organic post to give a stronger call to action at the end, or to position something slightly differently. Oh, interesting. And we often actually find that ads that aren't overly polished or professionally produced can perform better than something that looks like, more like a TV ad or a brand film. Again, not a bash at professional videography. It can also work beautifully. But you know what that means. Sorry, you need to get your faces on camera, or someone's face on camera at least. So ads that include a human perform better in general, especially in Reels, and Meta have actually released some research around this as well, which shows that Reel ads with a person in them had a 25% higher click-through rate. And that's pretty powerful. So actually, if you're feeling uncertain, I would think about how much that level of increased click-through rate could then benefit your final results from your ads, because that's obviously all going to tick over to what happens from there and the actions that people take on your site as well. So you've got your ads, you've made some videos, you've got some graphics, you've got some carousels, and you are building your campaign. You're loading everything into the ad builder. We just need to flag something that some people miss, which is auto enhancements. And these are something that Meta has released as a kind of automated features that they're trying to improve your ads performance. But they really do not always hit the mark. And they can make your ads look completely different from what you've designed in the first place. And there are a lot of them, as you can see, probably the most hideous slide I've ever seen. So I don't expect you to read all of these, but I think the length of the list really encapsulates what a minefield this can be. So they do all sorts of things. It could be adding music, which you won't have chosen, and it may not be a reflection of how you want your brand to be perceived, to making adjustments to your chosen image, which can do some very unwelcome things, as evidenced by this terrifying headless horse. And then, just to make the point with another example, we had a Black Friday ad here, and Meta had used its auto enhancements to make some alternative versions. So it's put the image on different backgrounds from what was the original photo. Except that isn't all it did, because in the background there was this very handsome dog. Lovely. And this is what he ended up looking like. Don't do this to dogs or ads. It's very bad. Poor guy. I really like the one where it looks like he's been stung a bit. So yeah, just be careful, tread carefully. I think we've seen enough of that. So to avoid a headless horse or a terrifying dog of your own, look out for just anything called enhancements and open it, toggle them off, or at the very least, just check what it's done. Ideally, we like to see 0 out of whatever the number is applied. And that number can sometimes change because, as we've already covered, Meta sometimes puts it in different places. It groups them in different ways. They are super sneaky with this. So another place you might see them referred to is something called flexible media. Surprise, it's just more enhancements. And they add these and they hide them in different places all the time. So remain vigilant. We're going to wrap up with a few copywriting tips. So we're now looking at the primary text and the headline section of your ads. So first one is incredibly basic advice, really, for all marketing. But I think it bears repeating. And also, when we're looking at Meta specifically, write for your audience as in the audience you selected at the start of the process, not just your audience generally. So you've made a decision that you're going to use a saved audience, and you might have put different behaviours or interests or locations in there. The copy that you write for those people is going to be different to the copy that you write for the audience that you made, which was a custom audience of people who have visited your website before but haven't made a purchase or haven't taken the action you want them to take. So for that group of people, you might actually be telling them to come back. Or if you've made an audience around the people who are friends with someone who has a birthday coming up, you might want to lead in with maybe not something like, you have a friend who has a birthday coming up, because that might be slightly creepy, but at least put the idea in their mind that this is as a birthday gift. Do you have someone who's got a birthday coming up? And that would obviously be different if it was just a more general, broad audience. Second is to make sure that your visuals and copy work together. So they need to feel like one complete message, not separate entities. That doesn't mean you should literally write the same thing in, on your ad visual and in your primary text and in your headline. It's more like everything needs to work in the same direction. And don't forget that your visual can include copy too. So if you've got like a killer headline or a really lovely piece of creative copywriting, then get that in the visual and then just back that up with the primary text and the headline. The next is that people scroll really fast, basically. While ads are brilliant to use on social media, you are interrupting people in their social time. They're not there to see ads, they're there to connect with friends or get inspiration or whatever it is they might be doing. So you really need to earn the attention that you want to get from them. So lead with, this is the value I want you to get out of this ad. And that needs to be there right from the outset in almost all cases. Unless you're doing something that is, I guess, more kind of skilled and creative around hooking someone in around a longer piece of storytelling or mystery. But in general, I would stick with the former. One really practical reason for this is because even in placements where your primary text appears, it's going to get cut off by a little see more link. So you can't assume that the lovely copy you've written is going to be right in front of someone for them to read. There'll probably be only around 125 characters before it's going to get cut off, and you'll need them to expand it. So you either have to make them want to click that see more because what you've written is so compelling that they want to continue reading, or you make what you're offering so appealing that it doesn't actually matter whether they click see more or not because they're already taking the next action through to your website or booking a call or whatever it might be. Remember that at the start you picked a goal, so string everything around that goal. Stick to just one call to action. Don't try and sneak extra ones into your copy, like you think, oh, well, this ad, I really want to get calls, but I'd also really like to tell people about X, Y, and Z. If you try and direct people in too many directions, then they just aren't going to do anything. So your call to action button needs to be the single most important thing that you want someone to do, and your copy and visual need to all pull in that direction as well. And finally, feed the platform. So while we can give Meta multiple ads in an ad set to test, within one ad, we can also give it multiple lots of copy to test. So you can add 5 of each, primary text and headline, but you don't necessarily have to, especially if you have a small budget. I think, if you have a small budget, maybe take it down to something like 3, because it still helps the algorithm to find the best combination faster, but it's not going to spread you too thin. And that might sound excessive, but it also might surprise you. So here's an example. This was the exact same visual asset used. It was a video, but 3 different primary text options that we gave the platform to pair the video with. And it brought about very, very different results. Like, there is a huge difference between the click-through rate of the bottom performing ad copy and the top performing ad copy. So if we had only loaded in the version at the bottom there, which was still, it was still well written, it was on brand for this particular business, it communicated what they wanted it to. But had we only loaded that one in, we would have been left with just that one result that it gave us. But because we loaded 3 different versions in, the platform was able to prioritize the one at the top, which was performing better. And I think that's me. So voice just about held up. Thanks for bearing with. And I think Tony is now going to talk about finding the winners in your campaigns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm probably going to shoot through this bit because we started a little late and I know you are busy people and have things to do. So we're talking about winners. So when we're talking about that campaign setup, having multiple audiences, multiple ads, and then setting that goal, a big part of that is to find winners and to find the best performance. So to give you an example, the saved audience, you may find that this ad type and this ad type is the thing that produces the goal. This is good because it means that the ad types that aren't working, you can turn those off, and the ones that are, create more of them. But while you're running those multiple audiences, what you might also see is that the lookalike audience, in this case, the best performing ad is the carousel. So it then shows you that different audiences interact with different creative, different placements, and so having multiple audiences, multiple ads, multiple placements is where you're then able to use the machine learning of the platform in order to find those winners. And then the thing to do is turn off the stuff that isn't working and then produce more of the stuff that is, and then you're able to start scaling campaigns and increasing spend. In terms of spend and budgets, One of the things to be mindful of in your setup is this section here. So this says ad set bay gets 0 leads. So if you set it to a conversion goal and the platform thinks, well, actually based on the information you've given me, I may not be able to achieve this goal for you. And achieving that goal and things leaving learning, that event needs to happen 50 times in a 7-day period in order for it to leave learning. Now, that's not to say that you can't run successful campaigns that are always effectively in learning. This is not an absolute, it's not the same for everyone, and we've seen multiple campaigns, many campaigns that actually never leave learning but are really successful based on ignoring this. So don't always take it as a rule of thumb. It's really important to make sure that you test and learn and try different things. But if you do see something like this, then some of the things that you could do is put the budget up. See, yeah, up. Or change the event that you're optimizing towards. So as an example, if you've set that campaign up to drive sales and it says, well, actually, I think I'm going to achieve 0 sales out of this. Well, then rather than setting it to that, set it as an add to basket. And can the platform achieve add to baskets and get 50 of those in 7 days? And then it will leave learning. And you may they'll see just through sheer numbers that so many people are adding to basket, well, a percentage of those are going to go on to buy, and that might perform better than if you set it up as a straight sales campaign. But like I said, it's really important to test and learn, be mindful of this, go into the data, understand what's happening with it, and then make changes accordingly. If you do have a small budget and a minimal budget, then a recommendation from us is to set up a campaign that looks something like this. So make sure you've got your goals tracking, everything like that in place. Set it up with an Advantage Plus audience. So platform, just find me people that will achieve this, and then use multiple creative in order to help you achieve it. This thing works really well if you've only got a few £100s a month to spend, for example, because you can then still see results from it. I like Meta as a platform in terms of advertising because you're able to work with smaller budgets than what you would do on LinkedIn or Google, for example, and you can still see really good results from it. It also means that people are seeing your social channels as well, and people can follow you off the back of that. Anyone that engages with your creative on Facebook, you can go into that and then invite them to follow the page, so you can also help grow your organic following as well. We're going to have a special mention about landing pages. We are not a web development agency and we don't build landing pages, but they're really important for making sure that your campaigns work well. So a page that you've created about a particular service which sits in your main website is really got to be geared towards search engine optimization and getting found in search. Those kind of pages don't tend to convert people really well. So in terms of landing pages, we've got the guys from Folks in the room that we work with quite closely. They do build websites and they do build landing pages. And any kind of campaign that you set up and run, I'd recommend that you have a campaign-specific page. It also helps with your tracking as well, because you know everything that comes through that is going to be as a result of the campaign. So in terms of your landing pages and ideal landing pages, this is something that we would advise on to a web development agency, or if you build your own websites, making sure that you've got clear and compelling headline, engaging visuals, copy that converts. Copy that doesn't convert usually comes out the back of ChatGPT. Copy that converts tends to come out of a real life human being. Making sure you've got your call to action there, user and friendly, intuitive, mobile friendly. And some of the things that people don't tend to include but are really important are things like trust marks. So don't create a page on your website which is just for testimonials. Put those testimonials on your product and landing pages so people can see it there in the moment. And also include a contact form on the page itself, not just a button which leads them through to another page to contact. We're lazy, especially if we've come from social. We want to be able to do what it is that we need to as quickly and easily as possible, and then get back to social so we can see what's going on and who's having what for breakfast. Landing pages that have worked for other people. So Ling's Cars, I think she actually went on Dragon's Den once and pinched there and had the most horrendous website, but it worked really well for them. It's not going to work for most people because it's really busy. It's hard to find what you need. And again, if you think about that journey, you've interrupted someone in their social time to come through to your website. You're only going to have their attention for a small amount of time. Make sure you can give them what they need quickly and easily. Cool. And the guys and folks, there's some printouts as well. So if you did need any help with your web development, do feel free to speak to them. By means of Roundup, I'm just going to, I've introduced this at the beginning, so this is our team at the moment. We also have a Lauren who is starting with us next week. There's a copywriter, Dan and Emma and myself. We're going to hang around afterwards. I think we've got this space till about 11:30 anyway. So again, please eat some pastries. Please drink coffee. Thanks for everyone that has come along and also donated for a ticket. All the proceeds for that are going directly to the feed who also provided the food for us today. So thank you so much for that. It's a very worthwhile charity and your money's going directly to them. So really appreciate that. We're going to do questions. So we've probably got about 10 minutes or so that we could probably do questions. I'm just having a quick flick through here. I think, Dan, you've picked up most of these? Thanks. So will anyone, any questions in the room? And Sophie, I don't know if you want to come up? Because there might be a Sophie-related question. Yes?
Could you just tell me a bit more about the learning? You said it won't go out of learning if it doesn't think the ad's going to make anything.
Yeah, so in order for machine learning to work, it needs to be trained and trained on data, and it needs a certain amount of data in order to fully leave learning and really understand what it's doing. So you basically say to the platform, I want you to complete this event. So it might be fill out a form, for example. What it wants is for 50 of those events, so 50 form fills, to happen in a 7-day period in order to get enough data to train itself on. And then it will leave learning, and that is the optimal for campaigns. However, that's not always going to be the case.
So the bit I didn't understand was, what difference does it make to a campaign whether it leaves learning or stays in learning? In terms of the campaign itself?
In theory, it should perform better when it's not in learning because it's got enough data to fully train itself on. However, we see results from campaigns that are always down as what it calls learning limited, and they still perform well and to the levels needed. So it's one of those things to be mindful of, but not always take it as a rule of thumb or an absolute, and to test it. So if you see it, my recommendation would be, well, if you're not likely to get 50 form fills based on your spend within a 7-day period, change the goal to something else, and then start like that. Or if you can, increase your budget.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter for the terms campaign whether it leaves learning or stays in learning. It just means that you haven't met all of its criteria to its satisfaction for its learning.
Yeah, so sometimes it will be a case of actually that's not working still. So if you ignored it and ran the campaign and didn't get the results you wanted, then, okay, well, let's try and get it out of the learning to make sure that we can diagnose that as one potential issue. And then if you change it and it's still not working, well, it might be something else within the campaign. So the audience, the ads, the ad copy, things of that kind. So it's kind of like a step-by-step process in order to get it to the point where it does work. Oh, hello, person. I'm just person. Hi, person.
How often would you recommend updating ads once they've left there? Because my company does a lot of like seasonal, so like Father's Day, Mother's Day, and everything. But obviously, they will take a while to get going and figure out who to target. So, how long should you just leave your ads the same for?
It depends, which is a very classic answer from any marketing agency. The factors that feed into it largely sit around, is it time sensitive? So it's got to stop running at a certain point. So if it is an event or if it's based around a holiday, something like that, then yeah. And also I would have a look at the spend and the frequency of ads. So if you are spending lots, then you, and I know lots isn't a number, but in the thousands a month, you're going to need to update your artwork a lot more than if you were to spend a small amount of money because of the frequency of it and how often people see it. So it's going to be individual to the campaign itself, but frequency is usually a good indicator as to whether that ad has been shown too many times to people, and so they're going to get ad fatigue and having a bit of a refresh. If you wanted a general rule of thumb, then maybe every quarter to have a look at an overhaul and a refresh. But one of the things that you should be doing with always on campaigns, so campaigns that run throughout the year, is making sure that you're turning off creative that isn't working and adding in more of the type that is, which then gives you that refresh and update as well. And again, how often you do that, largely based around your spend and your frequency.
When you add more creative, will it go back into learning again?
No, so it's done for the ad set itself, so that audience. So you can add in more creative without putting it in. Some of the things that will affect the learning as well, things like budget. So if you change the budget, I think it's 20% or more. I'm looking to Dan because, yeah, then that can put things back into learning. Or if you make changes to the audience itself, again, that can put it back into learning. But slight changes and tweaks will not. Yes, sir.
Quick, very possibly stupid question. Can you recommend a good app for creating static ads, so for sort of laying text over visuals? I keep kind of stumbling around trying to find something, but
Canva.
No, it is Canva.
Yeah.
Is it good on the phone? I do it on my laptop. Is it?
You can. There's an app available for it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to any designers in the room. I might go away and die quietly now, but sorry.
I quite like InShot too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that kind of makes it quick, easy, and simple for you, and then it's a lot easier to then produce more of it and test it. Hello.
Do you think there's any place for meta ads in B2B?
Yes, we run meta ads. We're in B2B. You're all here today. It's yeah. I mean, I'm saying that very candidly. The place to be for B2B is obviously LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is incredibly expensive in comparison to Meta. There's minimum daily budgets that you have to meet, whereas Meta is only around about £1 or £2 a day. LinkedIn, you're looking at least £10 a day. LinkedIn, your cost per 1,000, so the cost to show your ad 1,000 times is probably 100% more expensive than Meta at times. So though Meta is not the first place you think of to go to, with the use of Advantage Plus audiences with a bit of guidance, you can find B2B people and in their social time. I mean, I've lost count the amount of times that I've seen an ad in stories, I've clicked the link, I've downloaded something, I've kept the tab open because I'm like, oh, this is a tool that might be quite useful to us. So it does work, but it's a lot of testing and learning to make sure you get it right. Also, if you're using it for lead generation, don't expect to capture leads of someone that's ready to buy right now. You'll need to have a process in place to capture data, probably nurture them through email marketing, nurture them through remarketing to get them to the point where they're ready to buy.
Thank you.
Any more? Great, well, that's good. Well, thanks again for coming along. I'm going to bang on about the pastries again because we don't want them going to waste. Feel free to take them away with you as well, and the fruit pots, etc. Like I said, we'll be hanging around till around about 11:30. So if you want to come and chat to us, please feel free to. If you want to speak all things web design, I think Emma and Will be hanging around for a bit. Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks very much for coming along.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to